Spring training has arrived. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making Locked On Cubs your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Let us know in the comments section. What are you looking forward to the most during Cubs spring training? Today's Thursday episode is presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Tuesday through Friday episodes this week, so we will be here tomorrow as well. And Jed Hoyer and Craig Counsell both spoke on Wednesday as pitchers and catchers officially reported to Cubs camp at Sloan Park in Mesa, Arizona. However, there was no news. Usually at the dawn of spring training, there is a signing or maybe a trade to talk about, or even maybe a negative thing like an injury. Perhaps a slogan or a stated goal or big talk or something. On Wednesday, from the two main Cubs people, Hoyer and Counsell, there was genuinely little information, Sam. It's supposed to be baseball season, but I have to say, not only is the team incomplete, but it just doesn't feel like spring is here. There's really only a hint of it right now.
Happy Valentine's Day to everybody listening, and to Jed and his family, and Craig and his group.
Carter Hawkins.
No happy Valentine's Day to Crane Kenny. Yeah, I think this press conference, is that what it was, right?
Yeah.
Was very in line with the offseason. And unfortunately, because the offseason is still very much up in the air, Jed and Craig had to be very careful with their comments because every statement is leverage. So, of course, Jed's going to come out and say, yeah, we're happy with what we got right here. And, I think he used the same analogy of the closers warming up in the bullpen now for our offseason, whereas just before the Hector Neris signing, he said it was the fifth inning. So Neris, I guess, ate up 4 innings of work, one signing. That doesn't.
He
really
became a starting pitcher.
Yeah, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me because it's all. What are you drinking there?
Well, that's Coca-Cola in just a clear glass.
All right. And if, for those that want to apply for the co-host position, if Matt's health, begins to deteriorate, you could do that at Indeed. No, that's not a sponsor.
You can DM Sam.
Yeah, you can DM me and we'll talk. Every statement is leverage. Of course, Jed can't come out and go, yeah, we feel like we're one bat away, because then that makes him look desperate. And I would like to say for about the 412th day in a row that this whole situation's becoming ludicrous. The fact that we're still in leverage mode here as we hit mid-February and it's Boris versus Jed. But what I'll say is I didn't disagree with a whole lot of things that Jed and Craig Counsell said today. And I think that Jed's a lot smarter than I am. And I like to think I'm pretty smart in a baseball sense. And Jed obviously is, in a different galaxy. Mm-hmm. He knows that this team needs a bat. He's not that foolish. He knows that there's holes here. Now, maybe he has a little bit more confidence in the younger guys than I do because he knows them better. Fine. But he knows. It's all leverage right now. It is a serious staring contest between these guys. And, Jesse Rogers came on yesterday, I believe, on the radio and said, hey, the longer it goes, the more likely it might be that somebody, just caves. And the counterpoint to that is
Not
the
if he wants
longer
to be a Cub.
or the longer it goes, his value starts to deteriorate a bit. If we're still having this conversation in 3 weeks,
Right.
do you really want to give a guy $200 million that had no spring training?
Well, yeah. What changed in the 20 days, 21 days? Why would a team pay up after that?
It's gonna work itself out. It's just very unfortunate for the fans that are anxious. And I think one of the reasons, Matt, you rightfully feel like it doesn't feel like spring training because there's so many unknowns surrounding our team. Usually by Valentine's Day, we got a roster, and we're ready to rock and roll with it, and we're ready to roll the ball out and see what we got. We're not there yet. And this is one of those teams, and I'll swing it to you because I feel like I'm over speaking. And
well, it's a talk program. So.
Even when, let's say they do sign somebody else, there's so many unknowns with how this team's going to be used. Who's going to be the fifth starter? Who's going to go to the
part's part of the fun in a way.
It's part of the fun, but I just think there's a lot of unknowns right now surrounding this professional baseball club, and which makes it a little bit less exciting because we're just trying to get those answers here. Like who's going to be the opening day center fielder?
The team that is currently at Sloan is not the team.
Right. Is
not the team on March 28th. And I did get a kick out of Hoyer today. I did. Craig Counsell was a little more baseball-y. And Hoyer he was all about speaking highly on the young players. He called out Pete Crow Armstrong by name. He called out Michael Busch by name. He used the word young 10 plus times in the presser.
Yeah.
And I think it is important to acknowledge he knows they lack a bat. I think it's important to acknowledge that the Cubs have money, whether they want to spend it or not. We've reviewed a few times. But it does seem like there is incentive to continue to wait around, especially if they have intel, like it seems that we're getting, hints of more and more, that the player that we're all discussing, Cody Bellinger, does want to return. And so at that point, I do wonder a few different things, from a personal perspective in the Cody Bellinger camp. I know there was I believe a Wall Street Journal article today about the Scott Boras Core 4 that's still out there. I need to catch up on that story because it did not paint Boras in a good light, specifically with Montgomery and Snell and communication with teams. It almost seems like he's doing them a disservice. I know that was one takeaway that I saw from that report. So
we've discussed that on this show.
We have, and now there's hard reporting about it, that those humans might not like what their agent is doing.
Would you?
That's a big story.
No.
So I do wonder this, Sam. If Cody Bellinger genuinely wants to return to the Cubs, then when does he call up his agent and say, take the deal? Because there might be a day where that occurs. He might get up one morning and that happens.
Yeah, I just think I don't think he has the urgency to do that because I think the Cubs offer's there. He knows what's there. And so why take it until he's going to wait as long as he's told to wait? I think for me, it's more about Jed's mindset right now.
Okay.
And I just think Jed's mindset is, and this isn't going to go over very well in the comments, and I'm not saying it's the right mindset. I'm just saying it's the mindset. I think we could be pretty good in 2024, and I'm really excited to see all the different pieces that could come about. Yeah. And then in 2025 and beyond, it's time to start winning divisions each and every year.
Okay.
Like that's what, like I just don't get the sense that Jed Hoyer has a massive urgency to win in 2024, and that's right. Whether that's you like
more clear,
whether you like it or not. And it's fine. And people in the comments will go, "Hey Sam, why should he be urgent to go get a guy like Cody Bellinger if he doesn't feel the price is right?" Yeah, but when guys feel pressure, and that they're going to go get stuff done. he doesn't, it's not something I think that is on his bulletin board. I think if you
Right.
told Jed, what would you rather have? A playoff appearance in 2024 or not making the playoffs, not signing Cody Bellinger, not having money committed, an 84-win team, but a real picture of a young core and guys you could build around and a playoff appearance in 2025, he would take the latter. I don't think he's losing sleep. I think he feels like the
Yeah.
floor is high enough with Counsell and these guys to put a good product out there. And I don't think he's too worried about that. And I'm not saying it's a good thing at all. I'm just saying I think I've come to that reality. And I also think that's a part of the reason why my excitement right now isn't at its normal level.
I think there was some clues to back that up from Wednesday's presser with Hoyer. And I do believe that he wants to be a Cubs lifer. He wants to be around for a long time. He wants to build a Braves or an Astros.
Dodgers.
And to do that, this single year versus the next 7, it's becoming more clear that maybe that's less of an urgency there for sure. So I am warming up to that. I'm warming up to,
and I'm not warming up to
yeah,
agreeing with it. And I'm not saying
sure.
that they're going to not get Bellinger. I'm just saying their actions this year were, we want Shohei Ohtani. And if we don't get Ohtani, we're not going to make any moves that we don't feel hit our value. They had interest in Glass now. They were never going to give up that much.
No.
They had interest in Juan Soto. They never were going to give up that much. They are playing it like, hey, we want to put out a nice product next year, but the future is so bright, we don't want to do anything to hamper it. Again,
Right.
Not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I think that's where we're at. This press conference, him mentioning all the young talent and young pieces, and Craig, it feels like it's just part of a plan. And I think the last thing I'll say before we go to break is I also think Jed's a little bit of a victim of his own successful roster last year, because they got so close and actually should have made the playoffs that 83, 84 wins this year, or 85, 86 even, will feel like a lateral step instead of a step forward. And I do think that last year's team ended up playing better baseball than he thought it would, which then put a little bit more pressure on him now to even be better. And Jed is a stubborn guy. And I mean that as a compliment, because you have to be in that position. He's not going to rush things because of his public perception. He doesn't care. He does not care what you and I on the biggest Cubs show on the planet say about him. He doesn't care what fans say about him. His whole thing, and I give credit because not a lot of people could do this. That's why he's in that job. His whole thing is, let's see what they're saying in 2030.
Well, and who's to say that going young this year isn't a fun season?
Right.
Maybe it turns out when all these dudes graduate, they do hit.
Right.
And it's not only lightning in a bottle, but then it really builds for the future ahead. So
there's a path for there's a path for a very fun season ahead.
Yeah,
and there's also a path for, oh my gosh, we're 27-35 and Michael Busch is hitting 170 and PCA can't hit in AAA. So there is risk in it, and that'll be the mystery and that'll be the fun on it. I just like to get to baseball. I'd like to see Jordan Montgomery start against his former ball club that opening weekend.
Oh, that'd be phenomenal. Yeah, that Saturday night. That would be great.
I think the Rangers came out and said they're out on him today.
Well, I think there's not many teams for all 4 guys. There's maybe 2 teams for each of the 4, 2.
Snell's probably going to be a Dodger, dude.
Wait, did you hear that?
No, I
think he's going to be an Angel.
I think the Dodgers might just give like a 2-year 70 and defer it all to 2080 for his grandkid.
Coming up next, let's get into the spring training schedule. Sam, you want to talk about games? We got some spring training games. Let's talk about it. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you, with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy. so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem code Locked On for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We're back here on Locked On Cubs. There are 31 spring training games this year, which is too many. The spring training schedule opens February 23rd against the White Sox and closes with two rare matchups with the Cardinals, who will play in AZ March 25th and 26th on their way to opening the regular season at the Dodgers. Marquee Sports Network will air 27 of the 31 games. And Sam, how are we going to approach these this year? Because that's so much.
How many games do you think is appropriate?
20.
I think
About a week and a half less.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that. I think in baseball for these guys, especially for trying to bust it to make a team, I think 30's. I don't think 30's crazy.
30, an entire month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
it's just such a long sport as it is. So you're saying the preseason matches that?
Look, my take on baseball. It's long for a reason because you don't find anything out in a short term, which is why I can't stand that there's 3-game postseason
and hopefully
series.
We learned some things from last year, by the way, with the show.
No, we did. I know that's a direct shot at me, and we will. We're gonna. You're not gonna hear me panicking.
But you know what though? Part of the fun is reacting after the game.
Right.
A game happened. Let's talk about it.
Listen, when I look back at my first full year, the only thing I regret doing was waving the towel. I think June 6th, whatever it was, or May. Everything else, I support. I was on Mancini in April. He was cut, man. I couldn't stand Hosmer. He was cut.
Barnhart was cut.
Yeah. So I got a little bit upset. But one of the reasons I was upset so much last year is I thought this was a good club.
Right. And everything proved to be true.
And I thought that they underachieved, okay. And
so enough with the Sano bobblehead.
I think I have like sometimes when I do the show, I like to fidget.
Really?
Yeah.
So, spring training has arrived, and the first game is next Friday. I would like to test. I know we're doing some production on the air, but I would like to test maybe our post-game format, maybe do a couple of lives during spring ball, and see what these brothers can do.
Okay.
And what's interesting is
I'm never not going to laugh when you do that. So
most of Marquee's broadcast plans are remote, which is wild.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Pre and post and play-by-play will mostly take place from the Marquee studios across from Wrigley.
Yeah, I don't like that at all.
You're the Cubs station.
Yep.
Now, they're going to be on TV, so that's nice. Most of them, 27 of the 31. But yeah, I found that odd. One of the reasons I heard was because Boog. I mean, one of the big reason is cost. But one of the reasons is because Boog.
What do you mean cost?
Cost of, I guess, housing all the talent, putting up sections of a mini studio.
Enough, man. I'm
just telling you.
That right there is a problem.
I don't disagree, but I'm having a discussion.
Cost.
Well, why would they keep them thousands of miles from where the game is?
If they're not having the announcers,
there's a station literally for the team, and they're not there.
If they're not going to Arizona, the announcers, because they're trying to save money with the Cubs, then you know what? DM you for a new co-host, man.
Fine, DM me.
What was the other thing? Is it because of Boog's basketball schedule?
Yeah, his ESPN contract runs longer now.
Mm-hmm. Another perk of having a national guy.
Coming up next, 0 to 100. We got a couple questions for you there. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Right now, the NL Central odds are unchanged since we last reported those last week. The Cardinals are the favorite, Cubs in the second spot there, and we're in full swing of the NBA season, and you can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Right now, the favorite to win it all is the Boston Celtics at plus 260. Your Chicago Bulls are plus 49,000. Visit fanduel.com/locked-on and shoot your shot. FanDuel, the official partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today covers the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Search Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. I have one baseball question for 0 to 100. And no, it's not about the New Jerseys. I will say that.
No,
I know that's a big topic this week. My question for you, Sam, is 0 to 100 chances someone besides Javier Assad or Jordan Wicks wins the fifth starter's job.
Oh, good question.
Wisniewski might be a candidate. Smiley might be a candidate.
No, not Smiley. An outsider.
Yeah, free agent or a trade. Yep.
They could sign Montgomery, Lorenzen, or somebody else.
Right. Syndergaard.
I'm going to say 35%.
Okay. Yeah, it's not high, obviously, but it's not as low as I would have it.
But what would you have it?
I would have it about 20.
Got it.
Yeah.
0 to 100.
Go Cubs.
The Chicago Cubs have an everyday leadoff hitter this year that they play there that they position there every day.
I think I would say 70%.
You think it's
I do think right now the roster is such that they're going to have two leadoff men. Ian Happ against righties, Nico Horner against lefties, and I think you could do that for almost 162.
So you're saying together that's like one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And have we heard any smoke on the Ian
lineup?
Happ thing?
No. Nothing yet. Probably a couple weeks away.
Because that would be because if he's positioned there on spring training, it'd be a nice little victory lap for me.
If we see him lead off just in spring training, yeah.
Yeah, because I think
eventually I think we will.
I think I pounded the table almost at nauseum about that. And it started at spring training. I couldn't stand that Horner was leading off.
Well, maybe you even have Happ 1, Suzuki 2. You kind of go a chaos start.
I'd love that. I want my guys that hit well with on base, hitting well with on base.
Yeah.
Excuse me, my phone's ringing. Live on air. I apologize.
All right. Well, that's the show.
Well, listen. Let me say. Let me. You know what I mean? Let me say a couple things.
Absolutely.
First of all, I don't have a problem at all with my lighting. So for those that do.
Right.
Secondly, look. This offseason has been a snore fest. But what's going to happen is the sun's going to start to stay out longer. We're going to start to see, we're going to hear the mitts popping. We're going to hear the bat cracking. And it doesn't matter if it's Michael Bush, if it's Cody Bellinger, or heck, if it's Hesop Joy out there. As we get closer to opening night in Arlington, the juices are going to start to flow. The excitement's going to come. I'll plan it right now. The odds are that you and I together 0 to 100 on Saturday night for that ball game is probably in the 90s. And it's going to be exciting. And I'm going to be pacing. We're going to be 1-0.
The first Saturday?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I do want to do something for that.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Maybe in Wrigleyville.
Yeah. No, I don't know about that. So I don't really want to go downtown. It'll be 3-2 in the 7th. We'll be 1-0, and we'll give up
standing up.
We'll give up a 2-run homer to Adolis Garcia, and for about 20 minutes, I'm going to act like the season's over.
Yeah, exactly,
okay?
right.
And that's just kind of how it goes. And by the way, I remember on a certain Memorial Day weekend last year, a certain somebody at my house that laid down fully horizontal
100%
after that Reds game. That was
100%.
a devastating weekend for this club.
It was.
And maybe Tyone will start out the year and put some starts together.
That's exactly right. And, maybe sometimes that 20 minutes happens on the show. Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. I'm not going to let it happen on the show. I'm not going to.
Yes, we're diehards.
I'm not going to overdo it.
I'm going to be on the floor. I'm going to yell.
The only way I'm going to lose it is if we start out like 3-9.
Yeah. No, I'm hoping for 6-3.
And by the way, if we do start like 10-18, I might take a couple days off here and there.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs.
I don't want to
give us 20 to 30. Well, we're going to do the in-depth first month in a few weeks. You give us 20 to 30 minutes. We'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcast. We will be back Friday, possibly with the Liam Hendriks signing. He has a self-imposed Thursday deadline, according to Jeff Passan. So perhaps we'll be here Friday with breaking news. Otherwise, perhaps we'll be here with something else. You never know. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
Go Cubs.